The year was 1936. In Bonham, Texas, a child was born on February 8th that would make a huge impact on everyone that was part of his future life. Born to Robert and Bertha Vaughn, Clyde's early years were spent doing the normal things kids do. He attended Bonham schools through 12th grade. In high school, his passion was photography and playing his cherished trombone in the marching band. He also developed an interest in shortwave radios while in high school and obtained his FCC license and his famous call letters K5JRS.
I know growing up I heard those call letters many times, K5JRS. My dad loved talking on the ham radio and the shortwave radio, and just had a real love and interest for radio and electronics.
In high school, trombone talent was noticed, and he was offered a scholarship to attend Paris Junior College, but due to a lack of money, he was unable to attend. Upon graduation in 1954, he went to Drawn's Business School in Dallas, where he earned a certificate in radio and television. From there, he went to Elkins Institute in Dallas to obtain an electrical engineering certification. He landed him his first job as the engineer at KDSX radio station in Sherman, Texas. During this time, he began dating his future wife, Elwyn Martin. They married on September 27, 1958. The following year, he got a job with at&T, one that would span over 40 years.
As a young girl, when we went out there, maybe when he worked the night shift and we could actually go out there and have dinner with him, and watching him with all these huge, machines and wires and knowing what to do, and how impressed I was as a young girl that, that's my dad, and if something goes wrong, he can fix it.
In April 1961, their first child, Stephen, was born. Next came Sherry Lynn on September 21, 1964. The family often vacationed in their tiny travel trailer, going to places like Colorado or Disneyland in California.
I have so many memories of us traveling with the Seabolts, and just with our family. We would take the little tiny travel trailer and we pulled it all the way. I remember memories of going to California and Disneyland, and just all kinds of trips to Colorado and Lake Texoma.
We loved going to Lake Texoma. We would go up there, and it wasn't just our family, but it was our extended family, our friends. And we grew up with them just like family. And growing up with Ronnie and Monty and Tommy Seabolt and Harold and Sonia.
To help out financially, Clyde would often work a second job.
I worked at a local radio station as an engineer. I remember he worked at KYL in McKinney. It was an AM country station, and I'd go up there sometimes with him. And he also worked for an FM station in McKinney as an engineer, and he also had his own radio show on that radio station.
Besides his jobs, Clyde loved to go to auction sales, a passion he passed on to his son.
My dad loved going to auction sales, flea markets, swap meets. As a kid, he drug us to auction sales in McKinney almost every weekend, it seemed like. And as I grew older, I'd go with him to the swap meets in Dallas, the electronic swap meets, where he'd have his truck backed up there with all his wares and everything on the back of the truck, and he would go off and I would sell the stuff for him.
Besides auctions, Clyde loved to metal detect. He loved the challenge of digging a coin out of the ground. His love for treasure hunting continued for most of his life.
In 1969, there was a competition in Dallas sponsored by Garrett Metal Detectors, and where they hid coins all over this big field, and the person that found the most coins won first place, and that was my dad. He still has the trophy from that competition. We went to Nassau, Bahamas one year, and he searched the beaches there and he found coins from all over the world. And another year we went to St. Croix in the Virgin Islands, and he found coins all over the beach there.
Later in life, Clyde developed a new hobby, restoring antique radios.
In later years, my father really loved restoring old radios. He has over 100 in his collection, and he restored many of them back to pristine condition. He has them displayed in his office, and it's just a real pride for him to find a radio and restore it back to its original condition.
As his life matured, he faced all of his challenges with a smile, including those that challenged him physically.
He doesn't complain, and the past 2 years, he's really fought with physical issues, and it's been a mixed blessing because it's heartbreaking to see someone struggle physically, but I've spent a lot of time with Dad, and everywhere we went, every rehab, every specialty hospital, they always said just how much he gave 100% in physical therapy. He never complained. He was always smiling. Everyone loved him, and that was my dad.
His joy for life was evident when one of the 4 grandchildren would come for a visit.
Probably one of the first memories that I have with my mama and papa, and I don't quite remember it, but everybody tells me that my papa said something funny to me, and when I was like 3 or 4, I just whipped my head around and I said, "Well, Papa, I gotta grow up and you gotta get old," and that just cracked up my grandparents and just everybody for the longest time.
As a little girl, I remember him going on family vacations with us and waking up so early to go to catch fish. And it would be cold, and we would just sit there with our fishing poles just like waiting for something to bite. And then if they did, of course, we'd take them and we'd unhook them and we'd let them go. Because
I remember way back in kindergarten, we had these days where our parents would come, either our mom or our dad, and we'd do special crafts. And we had, like muffins with Mom and donuts with Dad. And I remember on the donuts with Dad day, my actual dad wasn't able to make it for some reason. And Papa generously volunteered to come with me for that. And first I was a little nervous because I didn't know if any of the other kids were going to bring their grandpas or not. But I remember walking into the classroom with my grandpa and looking around, and of course everyone else had their dads, and I had my granddad. And I don't know what came over me, but I was so proud. I wasn't ashamed, I was so proud because I knew I had the coolest grandpa.
I am the only grandson of the family, and I could not be happier to carry the Vaughn name. My grandfather was a kind person. He did a lot of things for us and our family. I share a connection with music with him. I love playing the keyboard and the piano. We both played trombone, and recently during our Thanksgiving meeting, I brought my trombone over and played for him. He actually got my trombone and tried playing it for himself, and he did pretty well. I love my grandfather, and I was glad with the time I spent with him.
His legacy will live on in the lives of his children, grandchildren, and those yet to come. His life was full of adventure and caring for others. Today, we celebrate the life of Clyde Vaughn and know that we will see him again. He'll be waiting for us with a huge smile, holding his trombone in one hand and his metal detector in the other.